the broken human in the blood-soaked field. The battlefield was quiet now. The sky was dark with smoke. The ground was covered in blood, bodies and broken machines. Fires still burned in some places. This was not a place for the living anymore. A young human soldier lay in the middle of it all, broken, bleeding, and alone. His name was Alex Wren. His armor was cracked. His helmet was missing. His body was cut and bruised. He had a deep wound in his side. He had lost his weapon hours ago. His squad was gone, killed in the attack by the Thar'kesh warriors. He blinked slowly, trying to stay awake. Every breath hurt. Every second felt like a lifetime. "Is anyone out there?" he whispered. But no one replied. All he could hear was the wind, the crackling fire, and the sound of small scavenger beasts moving between the bodies. He could feel them getting closer. They smelled blood. He tried to move, but his body didn't respond. "I'm going to die here," he thought. "Just another body in this war." Then, everything changed. A shadow fell over him. Tall, wide, and strange. Alex opened his eyes with effort. He saw a giant figure standing above him. At first, he thought it was death itself. The figure was over 9 feet tall. It had long purple hair flowing down like a curtain. Its skin was a deep violet color, smooth and shining. It wore black alien armor with glowing silver patterns. Its face was fierce, but not angry. And then, it spoke. "You are still alive," the voice was deep, calm, and surprisingly gentle. Alex's heart raced. This was no ordinary enemy. This was a Thar'kesh commander, one of the deadliest alien warrior classes known in the galaxy. He coughed. Blood came from his mouth. He tried to speak, but only a whisper came out. "Just finish it." But the alien didn't raise a weapon. Instead, she knelt beside him. Her large hand gently touched his chest. She felt his heartbeat. Then she checked his wounds. Her touch was careful, like someone used to pain. Someone who had seen too much. "Death, you are lucky," she said. "But weak. You will not survive much longer." Alex forced out a few words. Then, "Leave me." The alien looked at him for a long moment. Then slowly she picked him up in her arms like he was nothing more than a child. He gasped. Her strength was unbelievable, but her hold was soft. "Why?" he asked weakly. She looked down at him with glowing green eyes. "Because once I held a boy like you, and I failed to save him." Before he could say anything, her armor glowed, and with a blast of energy from her back, they flew into the sky, leaving the broken battlefield behind. When Alex woke again, he was inside something strange. The room was huge, cold and glowing with blue light. Everything was made for someone much bigger than him. Giant chairs, tall doors, and a ceiling that seemed to reach the stars. He was lying on a soft bed, his wounds cleaned and bandaged. Across the room, the same alien woman stood silently, her back to him. "You saved me," he whispered. She turned slowly, her face calm. "I am Marile," she said, "commander of the Thar'kesh 7th Legion." He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his body. She crossed the room in seconds and gently pressed his shoulder. "Rest," she said. "Your body is weak. You will need time." "Why didn't you kill me?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "Because death is too easy. And because you remind me of someone." Alex stared at her large, glowing eyes, her smooth purple skin, and the way her face softened whenever she looked at him. "I'm your enemy," he said. She stepped back and looked at the stars outside the ship's window. Not anymore. And for the first time in many days, Alex closed his eyes, not in fear, but in peace. The giant room and the gentle touch. Alex woke up slowly, his head heavy, his body stiff. At first he thought he had died, but then He felt warmth, not the burning heat of battle, but a soft warmth. Clean air touched his face. The smell of metal and something sweet like alien flowers was in the air. The light above was soft and blue, not harsh like the sun. He turned his head and froze. This room wasn't human. Everything was huge. The ceiling was twice as high as a normal one. The walls were curved and glowing with strange symbols floating across them like moving tattoos. The bed he lay on was as big as a small room, made of thick silver sheets and soft alien fabric. It felt safe, but also wrong. Then, he saw her. The giant alien woman stood with her back to him, looking at a screen filled with data and moving lights. Her long dark hair flowed down her back. Her armor had been removed, replaced by a robe that shimmered like starlight. She didn't move. Alex tried to speak. His throat was dry. "You brought me here?" She turned around slowly. Her glowing, green eyes met his. "You're awake," she said softly. Her voice was like thunder wrapped in calm water, deep, smooth, and kind. "Why?" he asked. She walked toward him slowly, her bare feet silent on the floor. "You were dying," she replied. "I could not leave you there." He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his side. He groaned and fell back. She rushed forward and reached out. Her massive hand gently held his back, helping him sit just enough to breathe easier. She moved with surprising care, as if afraid he might break. "Easy," she said. "Your injuries are healing, but your body is weak." Alex looked into her eyes. "Why? Save me. I'm human. You're Thar'kesh." She didn't answer right away. She stood up and walked to a floating table nearby. A round bowl rose from it, filled with glowing liquid. She dipped a cloth inside and brought it back. Then, without asking, she began cleaning his face, wiping dried blood and dirt. Alex froze. Her touch was large but soft, like a mother wiping her child's face. He didn't know how to feel. "Thar'kesh are trained to kill," he said. "Not to care." She paused, then spoke while still cleaning him. "I was trained to lead, to win wars, but I also knew how to protect." She met his eyes again. "And once, I was a mother." Alex blinked. "A mother?" She nodded. "Long ago, before the war reached us, before I lost him." Her hand stopped. She stood and moved back. "I see something in your eyes," she said. "The same fear, the same pain." Alex looked down. "I lost everyone too." She walked to the wall and placed her hand on a symbol. A part of the wall opened, revealing a small window to the stars. Light filled the room. "I do not know why I brought you here," she admitted, "but I do not regret it." Alex tried again to sit up. This time he managed. "Thank you," he said, his voice shaky. She nodded. "You are safe here. No one knows this ship exists. Is it just you?" She looked at him. "Yes. I left my command months ago. I live in silence." Alex's voice was soft. "Why?" She turned her eyes to the stars again. "Because the galaxy was full of orders, but none told me what to do when I lost my child. So I left. Before I lost myself too." They stayed silent for a while. Then Alex spoke again. "You said you were a mother, but you act like one still." Her head turned slightly. "Do I?" He nodded. "You held me like I mattered." She walked toward him again, taller than anyone he had ever met. She placed one large hand gently over his chest. "You do matter," she said. "You lived. That is enough." That night, as Alex lay in the giant alien bed, he didn't feel afraid anymore. For the first time since the war started, he felt something he thought was gone. Soft hands of a warrior. Mother, The ship was silent except for the soft hum of its engines. Alex lay still in the oversized bed, his body slowly healing. He could breathe better now. The pain was not as sharp. His skin felt cleaner, lighter. His mind, though, was full of questions. Across the room, Mariel sat beside a low table, holding something small in her massive hands. It was a tiny wooden figure, hand-carved, worn down by age. A child's toy. She stared at it for a long time. Alex watched her. "You lost a son?" he asked quietly. She didn't look at him right away, then nodded. "Yes. In the First War. He was only 13. He took a weapon when I told him not to. Wanted to be brave. Wanted to be like me." Her voice cracked slightly. The toy figure trembled in her fingers, but she didn't let go. "He died in my arms," she said. "I was too late to stop him. Too slow to protect him." She stood up, walked to Alex's bedside, and placed the toy beside his hand. "He was small like you. Quiet. Curious. Always asking questions." Alex looked down at the toy, then up at her. "I'm not your son," he said. "No," she agreed. "But when I found you broken, crying out in silence, I remembered what it felt like to hold someone I could still save." The next morning, she helped him sit. Her hands were large, easily able to crush metal. But with him, she touched like a gentle breeze. She wrapped clean bandages around his side, changed his dressings, and helped him eat from a floating bowl of warm broth. "You don't have to do this," he said. She said nothing at first. Then she replied, "I don't do it because I must. I do it because I choose to." Later, she brought him to a wide part of the ship, a sort of inner garden, artificial, sunlight, small trees, alien flowers. It was quiet and full of air that smelled of peace. He sat on a bench carved from stone. She knelt before him and began trimming the rough edges of his broken armor. "You are very gentle," he said, half smiling. "I was not always," she replied. "You were trained to fight. I was born to fight, but I became something else, and when I held a child in my arms." She paused, then looked him straight in the eyes. "Softness is not weakness. It takes more strength to care than to kill." That night, Alex had a nightmare. He saw the battlefield again. Blood. Fire. Screams. He saw his squad fall one by one. He saw himself crawling, bleeding, forgotten. And then he saw the scavengers, their teeth, their claws. He screamed. But when he opened his eyes, he was not in danger. He was in her arms. Mariel had come running at his first cry. She sat on the edge of the bed, holding him like a mother holds a terrified child. One hand gently pressed to his back. The other softly brushed through his messy hair. "You're safe," she whispered. "They cannot reach you here." His voice shook. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." She placed a finger gently on his lips. "Never be sorry for fear. Only be sorry for silence." He closed his eyes, breathing in her warmth, feeling her heartbeat through her chest. No one had held him like this since he was 6. No one had made him feel this protected. The next day, he whispered something without thinking. "Thanks, Mom." He froze. So did she. For a long second, neither moved. Then, Mariel smiled, not with lips, but with eyes, and she whispered back, "You're welcome, my son." Outside, the stars spun quietly, but inside the ship, a broken human and a lost warrior found something more rare than peace. They found a bond, one not written by blood, but by choice. Enemies at the door. The stars outside the ship were calm, but Mariel was not. She stood still, her long figure bathed in the soft light of the control deck. Her eyes stared at the blinking red signal on the main screen. It pulsed like a heartbeat. They were here. The Thar'kesh had found her, not because she called them, but because someone had been watching. Alex sat behind her, still weak but more alert than ever. He had never seen her like this, tense, focused, quiet in a dangerous way. He asked, "What is it?" Her voice came low, almost a growl. "A patrol ship. Thar'kesh Command Unit. Fully armed." Alex's face turned pale. "Did they find us?" She nodded slowly. "They demand entry. They want you." Suddenly the ship shook slightly. A dull, heavy thud echoed through the hallway, followed by two more. Boom, boom, boom. They weren't shooting, not yet. They were knocking, a form of warning, a sign of dominance. "They think I've gone mad," Muriel whispered. "Saving a human. Protecting one. They call it betrayal." Alex stood wobbling. "Then let me go. I'll face them." She turned to him sharply. "You don't understand. It's not just you they want. It's a message they want to send. That kindness is weakness. If I give you up, they'll bury what I've become. And if you don't, they'll try to kill us both." The outer door hissed open, and 3 Thar'kesh warriors stepped into the ship. They were massive, armored in black and red plating. Their helmets hissed as they scanned the air. Behind them stood their captain, Kortal, a high-ranking war leader. His face was hard and sharp with long dark horns curving back. He stepped forward. "Commander Muriel," he said coldly, "you have disobeyed every order. You harbor an enemy. You've abandoned the war. What is this shame?" Muriel stood in front of Alex, shielding him with her body. "I do what the code once taught us, to protect the helpless. This boy was dying. I chose to save him." "You chose weakness," Kortal spat. "You chose disgrace." "No," she said. "I chose to be more than a weapon." Kortal drew his sword. "Then prepare to fall with your pet." But Muriel stepped forward and whispered, "So be it." The corridor exploded into a blur of motion. Kortal swung first, but Muriel dodged with grace, her large arm knocking him back into the wall. The 2 other warriors charged, blades drawn. Alex could only watch. Muriel moved like thunder, wrapped in silk. She struck the first with a spin kick that shattered armor. She blocked the second with her forearm, caught his blade with bare hands and drove him into the wall. Kortal roared and lunged again. Their swords clashed, lighting. "Up the hallway. Why fight us for him?" he shouted. Muriel bared her teeth. "Because I've already lost one son. I won't lose another." Finally, with a hard twist, she disarmed Kortal and held him at blade point. "Leave," she growled, "and tell the others, I do not serve war anymore." Kortal breathed hard, but nodded. "Then you are dead to us." She let him go. The 3 warriors limped off, broken but alive. Muriel turned and walked back to Alex. Her arm was bleeding. A deep gash ran across her shoulder. He ran to her. "You're hurt." She knelt down eye level with him. "I've been hurt before, but I've never been this certain." "About what?" She placed a hand over his heart. "About you." Outside, the stars still glowed. But inside that ship, something had changed. She was no longer a commander. He was no longer just a rescued soldier. Now, they were something greater. A bond that no army could break. Secrets of the ancient bond. The ship floated quietly through space. Muriel stood in front of a glowing wall, her hand resting on a carved panel. The lights pulsed softly under her touch. She wasn't speaking. She was remembering. Behind her, Alex sat on a cushioned bench wrapping a cloth around her wounded arm. Even after her fight, she refused to lie down. "You didn't have to fight them," he said softly. "I did," she replied, "not for revenge, but for truth." Alex looked at her, confused. "What truth?" She turned to him and said, "Come. It's time you understand what this really is." She led him down a long, dim hallway he had never seen before. The floor glowed gently under their steps. Strange, ancient symbols danced along the walls, nothing like the modern alien tech he had seen before. Finally, They reached a tall door covered in golden markings. Muriel placed her palm in the center. The door opened with a deep hum, revealing a circular chamber lit from above. This place was different. Sacred. In the center stood a stone altar, floating slightly above the ground. Around it were statues of Thar'kesh women holding children. Not in armor, but in robes with peaceful eyes. Alex looked around in awe. What is this place? Muriel stepped forward. This is the Hall of the Bonded, a forgotten place. Even most Thar'kesh don't know it exists. She touched the altar. It lit up, and a soft voice began to speak in ancient Thar'kesh tongue. The words echoed like a song. What's it saying? Alex asked. Muriel translated. When a child is lost in war, when a mother has no one to hold, the stars may choose to bring them together. Not by blood, but by soul. This is the bond, eternal. Alex stepped closer, eyes wide. You mean this happened before? She nodded. Long ago, in times even before our wars, Thar'kesh women, warriors who lost their young, would find orphaned children, human or otherwise. The universe would bind them, a sacred connection, a second chance at family. He looked at her slowly. And you think that's what happened to us? I don't think, she said quietly. I know. She reached into a compartment on the altar and pulled out a glowing stone. It was small, like an egg, with warm, orange light inside. She handed it to Alex. The moment he touched it, the light turned blue. The walls began to glow with ancient runes. The air grew warmer. Muriel's eyes widened slightly. It's responding to you. Alex felt something. Deep, inside, not pain, not power. Belonging, he whispered. Why me? Muriel's voice was soft. Because your soul was calling, and mine heard it. Tears welled in Alex's eyes, and he couldn't explain why. He wasn't alone anymore. They sat in silence inside the chamber. Alex held the glowing stone between his hands. Muriel sat beside him, calm and proud. You lost a son, he said. She nodded. And I thought I would never feel that love again. He looked at her. You have it now. She placed a hand gently on his shoulder. And I will protect it until my last breath. That night, back in his room, Alex stared at the ceiling. His thoughts were no longer about war, no longer about survival. He thought about her hands, her voice, her strength, her sadness, and her choice. She didn't just save him. She claimed him, and he no longer wanted to go back. Outside the ship, the galaxy still burned, but inside, something ancient had returned. Not just an old ritual, not just protection, but family, chosen by fate, and sealed in starlight. Human versus High Council, a giant Thar'kesh cruiser hovered in orbit, black as night, silent like a beast waiting to strike. Inside, deep within the upper chamber, stood the High Council of Thar'kesh, 12 ancient warriors, tall and cold, dressed in robes of silver and war-etched armor. The chamber was carved from living stone, pulsing with energy from their ancestors. At the center stood Muriel, her wrists bound in glowing cuffs, her head held high. And next to her, smaller, human, unchained, Alex. The only human to ever step into the sacred circle alive. A deep voice echoed across the chamber. Commander Muriel, you are charged with treason. You sheltered a human, fought your own warriors, and denied the command of the War Council. Do you deny this? I do not, Muriel said firmly. I stand by my actions. Gasps rang through the crowd. Disbelief. Disgust. She admits it, one elder shouted. She has betrayed blood, said another. Silence, said the head elder, Valcor, whose horns were tipped in gold. He turned to Alex. You, human, you were saved by this traitor. Why are you here? Alex looked around at the towering aliens surrounding him. His legs trembled, but his voice didn't break. I'm here because she didn't just save me, he stepped forward. She became my mother. The chamber roared with laughter. Harsh. Cruel. A human calling a Thar'kesh mother? One hissed, "This is madness." But Valkor raised his hand again. "Speak your truth, boy." Alex looked at Mariel, then back at them. "You see a traitor. I see a protector. I was dying in the mud, forgotten by my people, left as nothing. And she, the warrior you now insult, picked me up." He held up the glowing bondstone they had taken from the chamber earlier. "She didn't just save my life. She gave it meaning." Valkor's eyes narrowed. "You claim the bond eternal has returned?" Alex nodded. "It chose us. Not her, not me. Something greater." One of the female elders stood, curious now. "Let him place the stone on the altar." A floating platform rose between them. Alex placed the glowing stone on it. The moment it touched, a beam of light burst into the air. The runes across the chamber walls ignited, thousands of ancient Thar'kesh symbols lighting up in sequence. The bond was real. The room fell silent. Valkor stood slowly. "The bond may be true, but our laws remain." Mariel abandoned her duties. She resisted her own kind. Alex stepped forward, angry now. "You built your honor on blood. But what about mercy? What about the part of your code that speaks of care before cruelty?" Valkor's face hardened. "And what do you suggest?" Alex looked at Mariel. "Let her live, not as your warrior, but as my guardian. Our bond is living proof that peace can still exist between our kinds," the council whispered among themselves. After a long pause, the decision came. Valkor raised his staff. "Commander Mariel will be stripped of rank. Her name will be removed from the halls of war." She closed her eyes, silently accepting. "But," he continued, "she will not be punished further. She will be granted exile by honor. She will raise the bonded one far from war, where peace may still be found." As the guards removed her cuffs, Mariel looked at Alex, not as a prisoner, not as a warrior, but with pride. "You spoke for me," she said softly. He smiled. "You fought for me, I'm just returning the favor." Later, as they walked toward their new ship, Alex turned and looked back at the council tower glowing behind them. "Do you think they'll remember this?" he asked. Mariel placed a strong hand on his shoulder. "They won't forget. And that is enough." Outside, stars shimmered like ancient eyes. Inside their ship, a warrior and her human son left the battlefield behind. Not defeated, but reborn. A new home, a new mother. The stars were no longer something to fear. Now they looked like open roads, leading to something better. The ship moved quietly through space, carrying only two souls, once strangers, now bonded deeper than blood. Mariel, the warrior who once commanded legions. And Alex, the human boy she saved from death and claimed as her son. After many light years, they reached a small green planet, far from war maps and patrol routes. A place untouched by pain. Its name wasn't in any record, but for them, it would be home. Mariel stepped off the ship first, her boots sinking into soft golden grass. She looked around slowly, at tall crystal trees, glowing streams, and skies with two suns. Alex followed, breathing in deeply. "It doesn't even smell like war," he said, amazed. "No," Mariel replied, "because this place remembers peace." They built a home together, not of war metal or command halls, but with their hands, from stone and wood. It was quiet, warm, simple. A garden grew outside. In it, Mariel planted flowers from her world. Alex planted trees from Earth. Each night they sat by the fire, no orders, no ranks, no weapons, just laughter, food, and memories. One day, Alex carved something small from wood, carefully, patiently. When he gave it to Marile, she went completely still. It was a tiny statue of her, holding a child. Her eyes softened. Her large hand touched his cheek gently. You made this? For you? She held it close. I've led 1,000 warriors, but this is the greatest honor I've known. As time passed, they were not forgotten. Others, aliens and humans, heard whispers of the story. A Thar'kesh commander who turned her back on war to raise a human child, not with force but with love. They came in small ships, not to fight but to learn. And when they arrived, they always saw the same thing, a tall alien woman planting flowers, and a smiling young man beside her, holding tools instead of weapons. They saw peace. They saw family. One quiet evening, Alex sat on a hill overlooking the valley. The sky turned orange and pink. He looked to Marile, who sat beside him, her massive frame still graceful. Do you ever miss it? He asked. The battlefield? She shook her head. No, I only miss what I never had. Until now. What's that? She turned to him, her eyes glowing in the dusk. A life that's truly mine. He leaned against her arm. You think we'll stay here forever? She placed her hand over his. As long as you want. My path ended when I found you. Yours is just beginning. Years later, a new carving stood in their garden. It had no name. Just two figures, one tall, strong, with alien features, and the other smaller, human, smiling up at her. Beneath it were 6 simple words, not by blood, but by bond. And so, the story ended, not with fire or war, but with a mother who chose love over orders, and a son who gave her something no battle ever could.